Hello everyone, and thank you for coming to cook with me in my kitchen again. Tonight we're making the Nicoise salad. So I'm very curious to know if you've ever had a Nicoise salad before, or if you've ever made one, what variation you've done, because there are a bazillion different kinds of Nicoise salad. So we're going to get into that straight away. Just in the meantime, thank you for those that have already subscribed into the Cook With Me. I'm looking very forward to bringing you different exciting recipes every single week. Tonight, I'm just going to give you a bit of a heads up, is that I am still fighting a little bit of a cough, so please bear with me if I have to clear my throat a few times. But hopefully we'll still bring you just as much exciting information and yummy salad. Now, with the Nicoise salad, it's, like I said before, had many variations to it along the way, and there are probably just as many chefs that have tried to create their own special variety of this salad. It's one of the most celebrated or famous salads, if you will, on the market. So it's one of my favorites, and the reason why I love it as a full meal is because it includes your meat and your potatoes in with the salad. So it actually brings up a really key focus topic that I'd like to make tonight for everyone. And it's the idea of turning your meal upside down, turning your dinner in particular upside down. And what that means is basically shifting the focus of your dinner plate. So traditionally, what I see in most people's standard fare in Australia, North America, is the focus of the meal and the focus of the dinner is first and foremost around the meat. So even as I grew up, it was always, what's for dinner, Mum? And, it'd be, chicken and potatoes, or it'd be roast and, salad, or whatever it was. And it's very interesting. So when we have that perception and languaging around food, it all of a sudden becomes the focus of the meal. And that's not a problem, but for increasing different variety in your diet, making life more interesting when it comes to meals and dishes that you can make, as well as reducing the food budget a little bit, it's interesting if we can change the languaging on the food and change the focus of the dish, then we don't actually eat as much meat. Instead, we make meat the treat. And I promise you that can save you a lot of money, or it can even make it so that you can go fully organic with your meat and not actually spend any more than you're currently spending on your budget for food. So what I mean by flip the meal upside down is, instead of having the main portion be meat and then the rest veggies on the side, the idea is can we make the base of the meal all about the vegetables and then have meat on top as the treat? So when it comes to something like the Nicoise salad, this is a perfect example of what I mean by turning your meal upside down. Starting to just think about crafting the meal and plating the meal in it's not a completely different way, but it's a new way of thinking about it, basically. So from the perspective of a salad, in this sense, it is traditional in one way because we are using lettuce. There are many salads that do not require lettuce, I promise you, and that's a favorite topic of mine. But in this sense, we will be having lettuce, and then we're going to build it with yummy bits all along the way. Okay, so how's everyone going? Is everyone logging in? Give me a big thumbs up if you're ready to go, and then give me maybe another thumbs up or a happy face if you've already got your potatoes semi-cooked or at least in the oven already. If you don't, maybe you start working on that straight away. Get those potatoes scrubbed and washed up and into the oven. They may not take 80 minutes in everyone's oven. It just depends on how much you pack them and how whole or how big they are. But I wanted to leave everyone at least 80 as an option in case it does take that long. Just does depend a little bit on the ovens and how many you put into the pan at once. So let's get stuck into it. Sounds like we've got some of you guys ready to go, and questions, definitely. Please feel free to type them as we go. Okay, so for those of you that already have the potatoes happening, if they were cooked last night, then you may want to turn the oven on now and get them warmed back up if you want to serve them warm. I find that they are most delicious in this salad when they're served warm, but completely up to you. And if you do still have the potatoes semi-warm, then that's fine. That's going to be great too. We can pop them back in the oven just before you serve it if you'd like. Otherwise, you can just have them semi-warm. So not a problem there. Otherwise, let's move on to the actual, pretty much the easy part of the salad. So that's out of the way, which is going to be the lettuce, the tomatoes, getting the olives ready, and the red onion. And then we're going to do the last little bit of cooking with the salmon if you're using it, and the green beans and the eggs. Now, you do not by any means have to have salmon or tuna in this salad, so I'll leave that completely up to you. Traditionally speaking, the Nicoise salad has had everything from anchovies to nothing to salmon and tuna. And a bit of interesting trivia is this Nicoise salad, actually originated back in the 19th century and has managed to keep different variations along the way, evolving from what used to be a peasant's salad, which was just potatoes and a few little bits of veggies. It was actually really simple on the plate, and it's evolved into this delicious full meal delicacy pretty much. All right, so let's get your head of butterleaf lettuce. Now, hopefully you're able to find the butterleaf because it is the most tender and most beautiful in this salad. This happens to be a whopper of a butterleaf lettuce. This is actually humongous, but it's got nice, really soft, very rubbery, grippy leaves. That's one of my favorite, and it comes in the green variety as well as the red butter crunch. So in Australia, this is called butterleaf. In Canada, this is called butter crunch lettuce. And it was one of my favorites that Dad used to grow as well in the garden. So when I said 1 head of lettuce in the recipe, I was probably talking more about the red size rather than the green size, but this was a whopper that we found. So we're probably going to it's going to make a massive salad, as you can imagine. So I'll let you adjust accordingly based on how many people you think are going to be salad hungry. I'm just going to use a little bit of this one and a little bit of the red one. So if you have a salad spinner, now would be a good time to get that out as well. Because this dressing on this salad is one of its best qualities as well, delicious dressing, I like to make sure that the leaves of the salad are very dry so that it can hold more dressing. Because as soon as the leaves get wet, we get a watered down effect on the dressing, and it's definitely not as nice. So if you happen to have a salad spinner, and if you don't, that's all right, we'll just give it a good wash, and maybe you can take out a clean tea towel and just pat the leaves as dry as you can within reason. We will give this one a good wash. Now, I get a lot of questions about lettuce, like do you rip, do you cut, do you pre-wash, do you only take off as much off the stem as you're going to use, do you cut the whole thing and prepare it? It's going to be completely up to you. What I find is the easiest, however, for me personally, is as far as preparation goes, is to keep the base of the lettuce on, because it's going to last a lot longer in the fridge if the base is on. This one comes with the root ball as well, so ideally we'd take the plastic off and we'd leave the root ball in a bowl of water in the fridge if possible, but it does take up quite a bit of space. So that's just going to make sure that the lettuce lasts for the longest amount of time. Otherwise, if it's a matter of convenience for you and you know that you're just not going to eat it if it's sitting in the fridge unready to go, unclean, then I would recommend cutting the whole lot up, washing the lot, and making sure that it's accessible and easy to grab so that you don't have any excuses throughout the week for not having a salad, or at least adding a bit of green into your lunch. Now, on that note, a salad spinner like this, one that has a full closed bottom, is another great idea, because this whole thing can now go straight into the fridge when we're done and act as an easy access, easy grab container for your lettuce, and that you can always have fresh lettuce at all times. So I'm just going to give this a quick little rinse under the water here. Oh, it's such a soft, beautiful, tender lettuce. I really hope that you're able to find a butter leaf. And if not, Cos lettuce or romaine in North America is a great option as well. But definitely a tougher lettuce, Cos is. So this is quite a nice salad to be delicate. All right, we'll give that a spin. And at this point, you can start plating up your salad already. So if you have a nice big platter or a nice big bowl, this salad definitely deserves a good bit of extra attention. It deserves a nice big beautiful platter. So we'll just try and get that lettuce as dry as we can. That's probably within reason. I could maybe go a little bit longer. If you were going to be storing the lettuce for the next couple of days, you'd want that to be drier. So if it's going to be stored, keep in mind we need it to be very, very dry. So we'll start building building that there. And we'll keep this happening. Okay. And coming back to the whole question of ripped or cut, if you rip the lettuce, it won't have a tendency to turn brown or go rusty on the cut edges. Now that's particularly bad with the iceberg and the Kos lettuces. The butterleaf tends to not be as susceptible to that tarnishing of the color on the cut surface. But in either case, you can avoid that if you have a ceramic knife as well. That prevents the coloring of the edges, the cut edges. I prefer a ripped lettuce, and this is such a tender lettuce anyways, that there's no reason not to cut it, or sorry, rip it. No need to cut it. Okay. So give that a rinse. And another spin. Love this thing. There's so many different kinds of salad spinners, but they all serve a great purpose in my world. All right, so there's our beautiful, delicate lettuce. We're going to give that a bit of space so we can build all the other flavors on top of that. And we'll save these guys for another day. Okay, the next easy things that we can prepare first are going to be the tomatoes, the red onion, and the olives. So I hope you're able to find some yummy olives. Doesn't matter if they have pits in them or not. That's okay. That's up to your preference. Just make sure you remember it when you bite into them. So tomatoes. Now again, traditionally, I guess if you could say traditionally for the Nicoise salad, it would involve the larger tomatoes, and they would be cut into thin wedges. So if you are working with larger tomatoes, let's get this out of the way here. What I mean by that is fairly thin wedges, very simple, but that's kind of more traditionally how they'd be presented. If we've got nice baby cherries, probably in half would be beautiful. I was able to get some nice heirloom tomatoes, organic ones from Freshbox for this one, so I'm going to make use of all those colors of tomatoes. It's a beautiful feature in the salad. Okay, and again, just use your judgment depending on how much you love tomatoes. You may not even be putting them in the salad. Or also if you've got lots of people to feed, then obviously these will all add up, a little bit of the extra ingredients. And the other thing I wanted to mention is, if at all possible, whenever you are doing a Cook With Me session, if it's doable for you to be quite prepared in advance, such that you can make a bigger batch when we get together and do this in your kitchen. So then you can set yourself up for the week. And in many cases, when I do a food prep session in my kitchen, I'm actually taking the extra little bit of time to make a larger batch, or to set myself up. For example, if I was making the Nicoise salad now, I would probably be doing a larger batch than what I knew I'd be eating over the next 2 days, so that I could make up some individual salad jars for lunches. And it honestly doesn't take a heck of a lot more time, but having a couple salad jars, and we would layer them. I believe I've detailed it in the notes in the recipe as well, but layer them in reverse so that the things that go down the bottom are okay to be in the dressing. We'll just put the dressing down the bottom, and then you build up to the most delicate on the top, so that the lettuce doesn't go soggy by day 4, because it's not touching anything wet. There's nothing on top of it, basically. So that's another little idea, is in any way, shape, or form, to save yourself time whenever you do a food prep session, I would recommend trying to see how you can get as many little parts of meals or a bigger batch done, to save you the extra effort of more setup and more dishes on the next meal prep session. Hope that makes sense, but I'll be going into that in a little bit more detail as well for everyone. So, okay, thanks for your comments, guys. It's good. I'd like to know if everyone's catching up to us or caught up to us and ready to go. So tomatoes, pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Let's go on to the red onion. One thing I'll say with red onion, this is the epitome of the example of how you cut it does count. So when someone bites into a piece of salad or a bite of salad with a red onion that's way too big and too chunky, that's when they're going to go, yuck, it's too oniony or it doesn't taste very good. So when it comes to something like onion, I would definitely recommend to try and get it as paper thin as you possibly can. Okay? Now, best ways to do that, I'm going really slow here just to show you what the process is. And I'm being interrupted by my potatoes that are now done, so bear with me. Okay, I'll come back to them in a second. Oh, those look good. Okay, so in order to get the paper thin onion, we'll just take a quick second on slicing here. The idea is to let the knife do the work. So the reason why we never run our hand along the blade is because that's how we'll cut ourselves, right? But it's okay if we push on the blade straight. So why is it that people then chop by trying to push through something rather than letting the knife do what it's designed to do and slice through it instead? So what I mean by that is let the knife do the work. And with red onion, it's really that easy. We just need to do more of a pushing forward action rather than a muscle action downwards. And that's how we get the paper thin slices. Okay, it helps having nails because you can dig in and hold. But if it's feeling risky, always put it back to a flat surface. So you can either put it down like that, or you can take a little bit off, and then that becomes your flat surface to hold it more stably. Okay, so let the knife do the work is the skill there. Nice paper thin slices. If you had a mandolin, you could do that as well, but this is a really good skill to have, is how to use your knife with control, and it helps having a sharp knife as well. Okay? All right, so we're going to try and, I think it's nicest in the salad for visual effect if we leave these rounds whole. So all I do there is just basically punch through them with my hands so we get these nice, beautiful rounds. If you want them smaller, definitely you can chop them up, especially if they haven't quite gone as thin as you'd like. Oh man, this is a strong one. Here I'm going to start crying. So we'll put them into the salad. And should have got some funky onion goggles, showing you guys this true style. So let's put them into the salad and get the rest of them out of my way. I don't know about you guys. Is anyone else crying? That is a really strong onion. Another little trick. I hear lots of, I don't know if they're all wives' tales, but I hear lots of different theories on how to prevent the onion from making you tear up. Excuse me. And I'm just going to put this over here for now. Basically what's happening, the action that's happening in the onion is there's an acid that gets released that reacts with our eyes, basically, and it doesn't like it. So that's why the eyes have to tear up to wash out the acid. So one way that you can do, and it's a bit more work and a lot of effort if you're just chopping one onion, but if you get a candle burning pretty close, it has to be unfortunately pretty close, that is one of the only things that can actually burn off the acid before it gets to your eyes. So a quicker method would probably be goggles or a fan, or you just cut the onion elsewhere and then come back to where you normally work. But I do find that I get a residual burn in my eyes after, like for hours after with the onion, so I should know better. Anyways, so we want to clear the air, clear the acid basically from the onion, and then you'll have less of an issue. So I'm just going to arrange those tomatoes on the salad. If you were doing this for a dinner party, this is seriously one of my favorite salads to present as a dinner party. You can imagine all the colors we're going to get in this salad by the time we're done. And if you were to do it as a dinner party, I would actually go to the effort of plating it on each individual plate, if possible. And in that point, you might not want to break the leaves apart of the lettuce. You might just want to leave them whole. They're very tender. So you'd plate the lettuce leaves and then really kind of spread the salad out, because it is a whole meal and it takes up this beautiful plate. So really kind of feature it is my point there. It's a delicious, gorgeous salad to be featured. Okay, so those are the easy parts out of the way. We'll add the olives on top now because we can. When it comes to olives, completely your preference and your choice. My personal favorites, well, I can't pick a favorite with olives, let's be honest. They're just delicious. Sicilian. So these are the sort of bright green ones. Most people love them. They're a very neutral taste, and most kids can actually get into the Sicilians a lot easier. So we'll give them a little drain, pop some of them on the salad. Those ones do have pits, and the other ones I've got here don't. So they blend in, but hopefully we'll be eating with awareness. And then I've got some spicy ones too, which are some of my favorite varieties as well. So I'm just going to chop them up a little bit. Some big green ones and some calamatas. I'm not exactly sure who came up with all the different varieties of the, the different versions of Nicoise salad, but it did originate in Nice, in southern France, and I have been very lucky to say that I have been there and absolutely loved it. As a matter of fact, I think I've been there twice now, which is very exciting. Once when I was 16, and speaking French is definitely something that makes you want to go and explore the places that you can practice that. But yes, being that it's Mediterranean, it's interesting that we've got the olives, the tomatoes, the fresh red onions, the salmon. It just makes sense. It completely makes sense for Nice. So there we go. A bit of extra spice on top too. Okay, so I know that I've given you measurements in the salad for the recipe, but given that it's an actual salad and given that you have your own judgment and your own preferences and flavors, notice I'm not exactly following the quantities myself. So that's up to you. It's just there as a guide. If you love green beans, put extra green beans on. It's completely your salad now. Okay, speaking of green beans, let's definitely get them happening. You can use the same salad spinner that we did for the lettuce to use them as a colander if that saves you another piece of dishes. So I might do a little bit more of green beans. They are my favorite. Give them a rinse. Now I don't often watch the MasterChef-y type shows or anything like that, but I remember one time, I don't remember where I was watching an episode, and I swear it had to have been staged and planned, but the two guys that were making dinner made the guests, it wasn't MasterChef because there was guests involved, but anyways, they made them wait like 3 hours for their meal, and that was the whole drama of the episode. But basically how they did that is they were chatting away in the kitchen, making this for everyone, while he sat there and cut every single green bean individually. And I was cringing. So anyways, if that's something that you do, that's okay. It's your house, but I'll save you a bit of time. So all I did there was take 2 seconds to rearrange roughly to get the right side of the green bean that needs to be chopped all in one edge of the pile. Okay? And then we can take our knife to just kind of even them up. So I kind of push forward the ones that aren't quite in line yet, and roughly get them all sorted. And then we can do one fell swoop, and generally we get most of them. So all you have to check, did we miss any? No, we're good. There we go. And we didn't waste very much either. So just in case that's something that you do, know that it's not the end of the world if they're not each perfectly done. Even if we miss one, that's all right. And then as far as how to serve them, you could leave them whole if you wanted to make kind of a nice, more of a beautiful presentation, express presentation of the salad. Otherwise, we can give them a chop either in half, maybe in thirds. If you're really going fancy, check this one out. You may want to cut sort of 3 at a time and cut them on an angle. Ooh, really fancy. Okay? So it just depends how you're serving them. For all intents and purposes tonight, I'm just going to put them into halves. I like them a little bit big and chunky. I like to appreciate and enjoy them in a salad. Okay, now, so those are ready to go. I've got the eggs out, ready to get boiled. So if you haven't already got the eggs out, let's get them out. And the container for boiling them in. Okay, now because the eggs are going to take 10 minutes and then the salmon, there's a couple ways we can cook the salmon. So one is to steam it in the steamer basket. If you, excuse me, if you have too much salmon and that's not going to fit, then we can also do it in the oven. So I'll leave that option up to you now. If you have, so I've got 2 fillets basically, and that I'm going to be able to squeeze into the steamer basket, but easily I could have done that in the oven if the oven was already hot and on as well. So if you are going to do it in the oven, I would recommend just in a little casserole dish to put down a piece of baking paper. You could put down a little bit of olive oil if you needed, you don't have to, or butter. And then you can put them in skin side up. So that will just keep the salmon a little bit more moist. And then in the oven, probably on 180 for about 10 to 15 minutes. We check it around the 13-minute mark just to see. It's just going to depend on how fat the salmon fillets are, okay? Beautifully done in the oven. So that's definitely an option. Otherwise, if we're going to steam it, it takes less time to steam, about 8 to 10 minutes to steam for the same size fillet. And we can do it on top of the beans if you're okay with the odd little bit of salmon juice, or sorry, on top of the eggs, because it's not going to affect the eggs. And then we do the beans separately or at the same time. So we'll see how we go here with time. My aim and my goal in the kitchen, generally speaking, and my purpose for doing this and showing you is to help save you time and dishes. I realize that we want to eat healthy foods, but I do not want you to be a slave in the kitchen. So that's a lot of the tips and tricks I'm going to be building in to these sessions. And if it means we go an extra 10-15 minutes so I can explain these to you, I hope that that's all right, because in the end I'll be saving you heaps more time. Okay, so all I'm going to do now is get the water up to the boil for the eggs while we make the dressing, and then we'll come back and finish the rest of the steaming and get the eggs cooking. So for boiling of the eggs, we probably we need them fully submerged. So make sure you've got enough water for that. And let's get that onto the boil. So I'm just going to fill that guy up, let that sit there. And while that's filling up, I'm going to check on the potatoes, see how they came up. Oh, perfect. Yum. That's exactly what we want. So, and these are then best served fresh, nice and warm. As soon as they cool, they will start to toughen a bit. So a little trick that you can apply is putting, so if they got a bit tough or a bit cold, you can put some water in the base of this. So maybe 2 tablespoons of water, and then put them back in the oven. It'll kind of steam warm them and soften them without making the crispiness go away, if that makes sense. Okay, that's enough water there. So we're going to take out our garlic and leave that aside for the dressing. Nothing better than a dressing with roasted garlic in. I'm just going to leave them in the oven just so that the oven's off, but I'm going to leave them in there just to keep them a little bit warm for when we serve dinner. So, all right, so I'm going to get this pot of water on to boil for the eggs. You might be one step ahead of me. And then we're going to move on to the dressing. Okay. So, oh, and just a little tip, not necessary. If you're madly in a rush, ever, a little pinch of salt in the water will bring the boiling temperature down, so your water will boil faster. Okay. Now, the dressing. This one we are going to, I would recommend getting a set of your measuring spoons out for this one, just until you get a feel for using a dressing or making a dressing that involves the vinegar. I don't often do dressings with vinegar because I find it's quite overwhelmingly acidic, if you will, for my taste buds. I love dressings with citrus in them. But this dressing in particular, because we add that little bit of honey, it takes the edge off the vinegar and it makes it absolutely delightful. So we definitely are going to use the vinegar for this one, and as a matter of fact, no citrus. So I'm just going to double check here, make sure everyone's got the right numbers. Okay, so for your dressing, you could easily make this in a jar that you shake, but I'm going to do it in my favorite little handy dressing maker. I would even buy one of these just for the sake of making dressings because it's that convenient for giving a quick little blitz up. And in the case of this one, which is an oil and vinegar dressing, this will emulsify it. So because we've got the Dijon mustard in there and a bit of salt, it actually will create a nice thick emulsion, similar to a mayonnaise, but a little bit more runny. Okay, so I like to use a bullet blender. So choose your weapon of choice. And then there's nothing complicated here. We're going to put everything into the dressing container, sorry, and go from there. So I've got a little bit of organic olive oil. We're going to do 5 tablespoons. Again, you don't have to be super pedantic about perfect measurement. Oh, was that 3 or 4? I think let's do this one 5. Okay. Now, red wine vinegar. If you don't have red wine vinegar, you could go apple cider vinegar. I have chosen to put in some raspberry vinegar because I wanted to change it up a little bit on our end. So, and this is another beautiful, beautiful flavored vinegar. So I'm going to go 2 tablespoons of that one. It might seem like this, very small quantities for a dressing, but it's quite a strong flavor dressing. So it's actually, it goes a long way as well. We're going to feature the ingredients in the salad as well. 1 tablespoon of Dijon. Are we going to fit that? No, just bear with me 1 second. Let me get a spoon. Okay. So we could eyeball it. If you get a little Okay, so we're up to the olive oil, the vinegar, we've got the garlic in there and the Dijon. Now we can put in our Celtic salt. So I'd recommend about 3/4 of a teaspoon. So I'm just not quite going to fill this teaspoon. It's about good. Okay, and 2 teaspoons of honey. A little bit indulgent, but I promise you it's worth it. These 2 little teaspoons of honey. Okay. And in future, if this is something that you love, this dressing, and you don't want to put it on other salads, then in future you'd obviously double the batch because it will keep for easily a week or 2 in the fridge. So no worries there at all. I'm all about doing things smarter, not harder. Saving you time. And then 1 tablespoon of water. So I'm going to go over to the sink for that one, come right back, and okay, 1 tablespoon of water. Okay, now the benefit is you guys won't get this noise as loud. Let's just mix that up. So whereas you can see how it's going to split on us without the blending, even if we do a significant amount of shaking, it's still going to separate over time. But if we do the emulsification through the blender, it's going to be much better. Okay, then you can check and make sure we don't have any little bits of garlic left over. Looks pretty good to me. Okay, and then you can adjust. So have a taste, see what you think. See what it needs. Remember, when you taste a dressing, we definitely want it to be strong enough that you can
that by the time you put it over the salad, it's not going to become diluted. So keep in mind when you taste it on its own, it should be quite strong in flavor. So if it's not kind of got that punch that you want, you could add a little bit more salt, you could add a little bit more vinegar, those will give it the punch. And if you think it's got too much of that, needs a little bit more sweetness, you can adjust like that with a bit more honey. Okay? And then if it's too thick for your liking, we could go another tablespoon of water potentially for that, but that's quite good for me. I like to have it slightly on the thicker side so that it's going to coat the lettuce rather than just kind of running all over it and down the bottom of the bowl. So I'm happy with that one. Okay. And so dressing's done. Last little bit, we've nearly got water boiling for the eggs. So we're going to pop them in. If anyone's not used to boiling eggs, just using the timer method, 6 minutes is generally, what do they call that one? Not quite sunny side up, but over easy. 7 minutes, at 7 to 8 minutes is still got a little bit of the dark colored, slightly soft yolk in the middle. And once we get to the 9, 10, it's going to be perfectly hard boiled, but not overboiled to the point where you get the gray lining around the yolk. So that's kind of the magic timing for eggs. It works every time, so long as you put the eggs in when the water is pretty near boiling. Okay, so I'm going to get my funky little egg lower duva out. Fancy little contraption, and the eggs. And to prevent the eggs from cracking when you put them in the water, I like to put it in right about at this stage, before we get quite a rumble on, but we've still got the bubbles happening through the water, lots of steam, and to make sure the eggs are at room temperature if possible, or at least out of the fridge for a little bit. So I'm going to put those eggs in there, prevent them from cracking. Now at this point, ask yourself, do I need boiled eggs for any other purpose this week? And could I just save myself some time and energy by doing that now? Do I want to be having the egg salad sandwich at some point in the week? Could I just do extra eggs? Have some in lunch, have them on hand as snacks. Okay, so that should be good enough for us now. Done. Okay, so we set the timer for 10 minutes on that one. And I'm actually going to take advantage of the fact that we've already got steaming happening here. And because we want to steam the fish and the green beans anyways, I'm going to do that now because I've got 10 minutes up my sleeve. So I'm going to put the fish into there, save ourselves some time. In this case, I go skin side down because I actually want the fish to cook evenly throughout the top and bottom. And because we're not going to have any crisping effect in a steamer basket, I like to do skin side down. So I could have put a little bit of oil in there, but that's all right. I'll deal with a bit of sticky skin later. And let's just even that out a bit. Okay, and the lid on. Now we could turn it down 1 or 2 notches, but we do want to have quite a bit of steam generated as we cook the eggs. So two benefits for one effort. Now the only thing that's left at this point is the green beans. So when the salmon is about 5 minutes away, I might just chuck them on top. If you're really particular about having your salmon separate to your beans when you cook them, then we can take the salmon out and just take another couple of minutes after the eggs are out to just steam the green beans too, but that's completely up to you. I'm not too picky about having my beans and my salmon touch because they're going to be touching in the salad after as well. Okay, so then let's grab the potatoes out and do a last little bit of a slice if needed, probably not needed. Kipfler potatoes are wonderfully creamy already, and they don't need to be much smaller. But other than that, we are nearly ready to eat. So all I do there, save those to the side. We've got these cut kind of to a great size already. So if you had really, really big potatoes, you might want to cut them up further. But I actually just like presenting them on the salad as is. And if you were serving this, if you weren't serving it like straight away, then I would say hold off on this step because the heat from the potatoes may wilt the salad as well. But definitely just before you serve, you can plunk some in there. Now this happens a lot when you're plating up salads, so a bit of a trick here. As you layer things in, you start to lose the beautiful vision of what was underneath in the salad in the beginning. So I'm going to show you this little trick first. Come back to me here for a sec with the camera mat. This is very technical, okay? I'm not even going to spell it for you because it's so technical. It's called zhuzhing. So we're going to zhuzh the salad. If you have a better word for that, please let me know. Type it in now. But I like zhuzh. It just tells the story, doesn't it? So we're just going to kind of zhuzh it fluffy again so that you can see the beautiful layers that we have underneath. Give it a little bit of a toss. There we go. We can come back to our beautiful, beautiful salad as is. And then when you serve this on the plate, people may like to grab extra potatoes in that because they're delicious, and I just want to eat one right now. Okay, so I can hear this going to town. Let's just take some pressure away. Turn that down a little bit. And unfortunately, we're getting the steam coming out the edges as opposed to going through our salmon. So, just going to make sure they've got enough room to steam up. There we go. So one thing to check is how deep your steamer basket goes into the eggs. This is fine, and we're just going to have a bit of action here, so just until it calms down a little bit. There we go. I just had a little bit too much water in. All we have left to do is check on our salmon in a couple of minutes, and this point, this is exactly a really good example of when you can be doing a little bit of cleanup as you go, because oftentimes I feel people wait too much in the kitchen, so we'll just sit there and wait. Meanwhile, we could be tidying up as we go and not have any dishes to do when we're done eating. So, let's check on that. Okay, so we'll do a little bit of tidying up here with the eggs. And the green beans we don't want to forget, so I'm just going to check on that timing. Check on the salmon. Okay, we don't want to lift the lid too much if we can at all avoid that, because we're going to lose the steam. So I'm going to let that stay on there and tidy up as we go. So I'm also curious to hear if anyone else has any special requests for future Cook With Me sessions. I have had a few come through that I'm going to try to put all in line and make sure everyone gets their special requests. I've had the latest one I'm going to try to work in is for sushi. So we might be doing sushi even next week. I might bring that forward. So I'd love to have your special requests of things you wanted to learn in the kitchen. And I would love it if you could also let your friends know if you're having a good time on the Cook With Me, and send them to cookwithme.live so that we can all be cooking together, and that you guys can be discussing that between yourselves as friends and how you each went in the kitchen, but for a very other important reason, and that is a small sense of fun accountability. So it's kind of like a buddy system, and if you guys can hold yourselves to trying one new recipe or doing one Cook With Me video a week, even if it's not the live one, then it's going to help you, I promise. At the end of, however long you're going to do this for, you will come out with more confidence in the kitchen, better skills, and hopefully have a lot more fun in the kitchen as well. So if you can find a buddy and do that together and just check in with each other every week and say, oh, how was your Nicoise salad? How did it go? Did the family eat it? And they go, oh, I haven't done it yet. I'll do it tomorrow. Okay, good. A bit of accountability there and a bit of fun. You could even turn it into a rivalry competition. Or you could even come over to each other's house to do it together every now and then. It's a bit of a fun thing too. So please do this with a buddy. It's going to be much easier on you and much more beneficial in the long run. Okay, so there's no other questions. We are nearly done with the eggs. All we're going to have to do when the eggs come out is cool them enough so that we can peel them and get them onto the salad. At this point, if you are ready to serve and ready to eat, you could even start putting a bit of this lettuce onto or a bit of the salad onto each plate as well and get that happening. Otherwise, cleanup is definitely advised so that you have less to do later on. Okay. Another little plating up idea is you could take a bit of lemon and use some lemon wedges. Serve it with a bit of lemon wedges. This is actually a lemonade, which means it's got a nice mild flavor, kind of a sweeter flavor. So you can serve a little wedge of that on top for people to add on as they please. Okay, so that's been our 10 minutes. So all we need to do is just check on the salmon and see how it's going. Okay, so we're going to cut into the thickest part. We're not quite done here, so there's quite a bit of a thick piece there. Okay, so all we're going to do in this case is I'm going to take the eggs out and we're going to let this keep going until the salmon's done to our liking. And the benefit of that is in the steamer basket. That's good. Okay, so we'll just take the eggs out into a strainer. It's good, it'll give us time to peel the eggs while the salmon will still be nice and hot to serve. There we go, nice organic eggs. I've also served this salad with quail eggs before, little bitty baby quail eggs, and that was quite yummy. So that's another option. Okay, so I'm going to turn that heat up just a little bit, get this salmon happening another couple of minutes. We'll check it in 4. If you're super pedantic about overcooked salmon, know that the salmon will continue to cook slightly because it's so hot when it's done cooking. So you can get away with a bit of uncooked look in the middle, very middle, if you keep the salmon pieces whole just until you serve it. It should continue cooking because it's so hot. So with the boiled eggs, I'm going to give them a rinse under cold water. Okay, and then a little trick, you probably already know this or do this, but with peeling boiled eggs, I like to get a bit of paper towel, and it just helps keep the mess down and the eggs from getting all shell covered. So they peel the easiest the sooner after you take them out of the water. I do get people asking, you know, why do sometimes the shells come off the eggs and sometimes they don't? It is easier the faster you take them, the faster you peel them after taking them out of the water, the better that is. Okay. So, in terms of this being a regular salad in your world, I know that it does involve a bit of prep work and a bit of cooking. So that's why I would recommend the idea of always roasting the potatoes the night before, kind of just a little bit of forethought. Even if you hadn't planned on making the Nicoise salad, if you're making other forms of roast veggies, then you could think it to yourself, oh, could I chuck some potatoes in and go pick up some nice butterleaf lettuce, and could we have Nicoise salad? So then the potatoes are done. They're really the only part that takes kind of an annoyingly long amount of time, and the rest of it is straightforward. Even as far as having fresh salmon on hand, you don't have to use salmon, just use a tin of tuna. That's actually equally as traditional as salmon in this recipe. Or I've even had it with tempeh. A nice freshly fried off tempeh is delicious as well. So that's another option. Okay. Knowing that the salmon is close now, I'm going to pop the green beans in. You don't have to complicate this step and do them together, but just to save a bit of time, I'm going to pop the green beans in with the salmon. Salmon's very close now. Okay. And let's check out our eggs, how we went with them. So you can always do a test egg. So for me, that's absolutely perfect. If you like it completely 100% cooked beyond that, leave them whole for another 5 minutes and it'll be fully cooked through, because there's enough heat in this egg still that that'll be fully cooked through. Okay, so that's our little test egg. That's perfect for my liking. And then we're good to go. So again, like I said, this salad makes an amazing lunch throughout the week. So if you have the chance tonight, before you put everything away, try and put it in its individual lunch containers. It doesn't have to be fancy layered jars, but in an individual lunch containers so that it's easy to grab in the fridge. Just make sure that the lettuce is on top, and then you won't have any issues with soggy lettuce. Okay. And there we go, Nicoise salad. I can't wait to dig in. So I'll show you what it would look like if we were to plate it up on a single plate, and then you guys are free to chat around. I think it deserves a nice big spread of a dinner plate. Okay, so now if we were to do my little zhuzh technical term earlier from the bowl, this is another way to plate it up. So we'll spread out the lettuce, even out our tomatoes and our onions, steal a couple extra olives. Okay, let's arrange a few egg quarters on there. Again, doesn't have to be fancy, but if you'd like it to be, it can be. Ready for our green beans, our salmon, and then we're just lastly going to drizzle a little bit of dressing on the top, bit of a lemon wedge on the side, and we are looking. Okay, so let's grab that same steamer basket for the green beans. When it comes to the green beans, we definitely want to catch them. Bear with me, we'll grab some tongs. We definitely want to catch them while they're still bright green. This is when they've got their optimum nutrition levels. And I like them a little bit firm still. So after about 4 to 5 minutes, that should be plenty of time for the green beans. So we're going to catch them at this bright green stage, and then we're immediately going to run a little bit of cold water over them just to stop the cooking, unless you're literally sitting down to dinner straight away and you can enjoy them nice and very hot, but that's up to you. Our salmon looks like it's amply cooked, so we're ready to rock. Okay, so a little bit of cold water there. There we go. Perfect. And if we did it correctly, the skin will stay behind, mostly, and just the salmon will come away. Okay, so there's our salmon. Let's come back and cut that up for the salad. So a couple bit of green beans on top, just like that. A couple of pieces of salmon. I like to see if we can just let the salmon break away the way that the grain of the salmon wants to. Okay, and then we can serve it just like that. So you see how, whereas traditionally a meal like this would be served with a whole piece of fillet of salmon, and then the potatoes maybe on the side, and maybe a little green salad as if it doesn't even count, just for color on the other side. So the difference here is we're getting a bunch more nutrition variety from the amount of other greens that we're getting on the plate. We're reducing the costs of the food bill by sharing the salmon fillets, and we're also increasing the interesting factor of the dish, because we get to put this delicious dressing over the lot. Here we go. Yum! Nicoise salad. My favorite. Okay, well, before that gets any cooler, I want to eat it. So, thank you very much for joining us for this Cook With Me live session. And we would love to hear all of your feedback, and see you soon. See you on the next one. Thank you.